Alien Earth is set to drop soon, this month, in fact, a couple of weeks' time now. Very, very excited for this, and we're now getting quite a big ramp up in the marketing, the sort of exposure, the interviews, the puff pieces by media, and one in The Guardian, which I found quite interesting. The Guardian as an outlet is terrible, but this is an interesting piece. And it just starts off with this. It's the best monster ever invented. And that is Noah Hawley discussing the Xenomorph, which is a far cry from Ridley Scott going, the beast is done. It's done. It's over. The beast's dead. It's like, sure, mate. Sure. It's not. It's not. People love the Xenomorph. So I thought we'd dive into this today. Please do hit subscribe, turn those bell notifications on. And it's just a wide-ranging interview. So I thought it was worthwhile taking a look at. So yeah, let's take a look. I will say as well from the off, if you're a returning viewer, you know, you subscribe to the channel, you like what I do here, please do consider supporting my Patreon. You can find it linked down below. I don't plug it that much, but it'd be really good to have you there more often for exclusive content. Anyway, let's go. Got my shilling out the way. So as you can see here, when it was first announced in 2013, the thought of Fargo. So they start talking about Fargo. I'm not going to rehash that, right? I'm not really interested in them talking about Fargo that much. But that's the opener to this entire piece. I'm moving swiftly on through here. The approach had to be different. So this is just talking about how you remix a franchise effectively. So they move forward and say, the approach had to be different from last year's successful offshoot Alien Romulus, a back-to-basics slasher picking up plot threads from Scott's original. An Alien movie is a 2-hour survival story, so the monsters can just be monsters, says Hawley. But in a 10-hour, 30-hour, 50-hour show, the monsters have to exist for a reason. You're also not killing everybody off, so there has to be a continuing, serialized story in which the monsters fit. So I found this to be quite interesting, and I say this at any available opportunity, is that Noah Hawley did refuse to speak to Fede Alvarez during the production of Alien Romulus, which I think is concerning slightly, but I wait with bated breath to see what happens. But this is, I mean, he's not wrong when he says when you've got like a long story, like a episodic structure, things are different. The format has to be different. He's not wrong there. So with the critical acclaim that greeted Fargo and his 2017 series Legion, a subversive take on the X-Men comic book mythos that ran for 3 trippy seasons, Hawley has helped elevate expectations for small-screen offshoots of existing intellectual property. Quote, the question is always, why are we doing this? And if you can't answer why, question with something other than money, then probably you should stop. Yeah, true. I agree. And he says, you know, it's complex and layered, but I want you to come out of each episode going, yeah, come on. And this is what he's talking about. So each episode has a purpose, apparently. So Hawley is technically on holiday when The Guardian caught up with him. So fine, sure, whatever. But he was basically asked about this. He was approached. And he said, if you ask me if I have an idea, I'm going to have an idea. From the lofty prequel Prometheus to a schlocky crossover in Alien vs Predator, the franchise timeline has become cluttered over the past 45 years. It's not really that cluttered, but fine. Hawley's pitch zeroed in on unexplored territory, what was happening on Earth in the years just before the events of Alien. The result is a mashup of Peter Pan dreaminess and heavy metal doom. That's quite good descriptors. With a sprawling ensemble cast including Babu Sise as a poker-faced security officer who is now, confirmed for a while now to be a cyborg, so that's interesting. He described his arm as a Swiss Army knife in arm form, which I think is quite cool. It's quite interesting. And he wants to be more than human, more than a cyborg. Timothy Oliphant is a synthetic, and it's set in 2120, a couple of years before Sigourney Weaver and a blue-collar crew of space truckers will have their fateful close encounter. Although Noah Hawley has come out and said it's set around aliens, which is weird. But hopefully that was a misspeak. So Weyland Yutani, the franchise's long-standing corporate baddies, obviously in the mix. but a pushy rival called Prodigy has secretly cracked transhumanism, decanting consciousness into powerful synth bodies. The catch is that only young minds are flexible enough for the process, so terminally ill kids are being reborn as Herculean but emotionally immature hybrids. If you're telling a story about humanity, there's nobody more human than a child, says Hawley. They don't know they're bad liars, they can't pretend, they're not scared, and they learn to be cynical. So that was interesting to me, and I think that is interesting. When a hulking research vessel carrying unpleasant cosmic beasties crash lands on a high-tech city in Thailand, the hybrids are deployed. I don't think it's actually set in Thailand. It might be. It was shot in Thailand. I don't know if it's set in Thailand, but it's set in Prodigy City, which is the Prodigy Corporation's own land. So the hybrids are deployed on a search and rescue mission. We're fast, we're strong, and we don't break, points out lead hybrid Wendy, played with suitably childlike glee by Sydney Chandler. The stage is set for a corporate turf war amid a citywide state of emergency. So I think that's quite interesting. Corporate turf war. Now, I do wonder how much Weyland-Yutani will play into this. We know that they've cast Yutani, Ms. Yutani. So it will be interesting to see. So coming up with new aliens that could exist alongside the familiar Xenomorph was daunting for Hawley. I like that, because that shows humility. Right? The aim was to evoke the feeling of watching Alien for the first time. They don't have to carry the day, he says. They just have to offer that feeling of unpredictability by introducing these other creatures. I'm able to give you a sense of, well, now I don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's smart. So he even admits there that he's not actually trying to outdo the Xenomorph, which is the right approach. These are supplementary, right? These are creatures to evoke the feeling of the Xenomorph when you first encountered it, on screen, and to make you question what's going to happen next. Then the Xenomorph will come in, presumably, and just wreck shop. So after the fraught terrain of Fargo and Legion, where an emotional gut punch never felt far away, Alien Earth feels like Hawley in a brasher, more swaggering mode. Classic Black Sabbath was a touchstone. I wanted this show to be completely entertaining from start to finish. It's complex and layered, but it's also a cliffhanger show, and you get those big feelings from hard rock and driving guitars. I want you to come out of each episode going, yeah, come on. So that's interesting. So, he's just admitting that basically each episode will probably end with a cliffhanger, which I think is smart. It's kind of what you want, really. I'm not going to get into this stuff. This isn't massively what I want to get into, or his background as political science. Don't really care about his background, quite frankly, or even any of this stuff here either. I'm not really interested in that either. Like I said, this is an interesting article. It's an interesting interview. Some of it is better than the others. Some of it isn't, really. So, yeah. But anyway, so moved on here. And says, one unexpected early influences British comedy. After studying theatre in London, his father returned with Goon Show LPs that Hawley and his brother could soon recite by heart. I just wore those records out, he remembers. He also devoured NPR repeats of the BBC's 1978 radio sitcom The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, slarted Bartfast, and enthuses about seeing the young ones at an impressionable age. That meant the casting of Adrian Edmondson as a sinister aide de camp in Alien Earth was a real full circle moment. I told Adrian that there was a moment on The Young Ones in the episode Flood that informs everything you need to know about me as a storyteller. It was when his character, Vivian, my eyes today, sorry, walked into the closet and ended up in Narnia. I must have been in my teens when I saw it, and it was such a mind-blowing thing. But you could have magical realism in a comedy about roommates. What was it like meeting his childhood heroes? I found with a lot of comedic actors that their downtime persona is very different. Adrian is very measured, He's much more like his character in our show than Vivian. So there you go. A few things to take from this. It's the best monster ever invented. Like that. I like the fact he's not trying to outdo the Xenomorph. I think all of this is quite smart. This gives me some element. I'm optimistic for the show anyway, but this is just another thing where I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I'm on board. I'm still on board. Again, specifically the reasoning behind the creatures. I like that. A few people were concerned that he was just trying to outdo it, and I think he's I think he's very clear now that that's not the case. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Are you excited? Thoughts down below. Take care. Bye-bye now.